Which one do you want to drink? It's real simple. To do this, and these guys in the back can attest, you have to be part politician, you have to be part chemist, you have to be part lawyer, you have to understand and implement everything these three gentlemen talked about. Now, I don't know how much you guys really absorbed of everything they talked about, but this was just a little bit. I mean, this was just skimming the surface. The thing that I'm excited about in this part of Oklahoma is that there's a group of people around here that are really dedicated to keeping the water here. They're dedicated to providing good, clean water. We have conferences that we go to every year. A lot of times they are with the ORWA. You know, these guys, I've actually seen these guys all at different conferences where we all get together and we talk about the things that are going on. We talk about the things that are coming up. The notification letters that you get. There's, you know, when EPA changed the rules, almost every system in Oklahoma went out of compliance overnight. Overnight. They went from, yep, we're doing great, to, oh no, we are busting our limits. So for Eufaula to make the progress they have, I think that's great. Now, I was a little luckier. My plant was a little older, and they looked at my plant and they said, you got to do something drastic. So we spent $2.8 million renovating our plant. Right now, the water we're putting out is unbelievable. But here's the second problem, and this is something that nobody has talked about and that I think is very important. I finished this plant a year and a half ago. I still do not have my system completely cleaned up. This system that I have, you know, it's been in place 35, 40 years. And during this time, we put out water that is not as good as the water we're putting out today. There was sediment in this water. As you can see, by the time I get through talking, if you come up here, you'll look on the bottom of this one, and there'll be stuff settled on the bottom of that. Okay, even in this water, as clean as it looks, there's micro little bits of sediment in it. What happens over years, this stuff settles on the pipes. Okay, once you get a plant that's making clean water, then you got to go through and you got to clean out all the pipes. This is a very lengthy process, but again, you know, it's something that I think most of the people on the lake are doing a good job of. You know, we've got people in place that, you know, that are looking out after the lake. You know, we've got people like Jerry over there that's putting together forums like this to where people can get together and talk about problems. But as a plant manager, I can tell you it is a daily struggle to not only produce clean water that won't make everybody sick, but also to stay in line with all the regulations. Because it seems like that every week or every month, something comes up to where you have a new regulation you have to deal with, or there's a possibility that you're going to have a new regulation. So it's kind of interesting, and it is, these guys in the back can attest, it definitely keeps you on your toes, especially when you get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and, you know, the mayor calls you and say, hey, we've got water squirting 5 foot up above Main Street. It's 30 degrees, the water's free. What do? You go fix it. You don't have any choice. So, any questions or anything else?
Thank you, Dennis. Let's give these guys a round of applause.
Can I just make one comment? I'm not a scientist. I'm not. But on the other hand, I'm not a lawyer either. So I mean, you know. But as a layman, when the disinfection byproduct rule came out, it really troubled me. Because we've been using chlorine in this world for 150, 125 years. And the first rule of drinking water, in my mind, has always been first you kill the bugs. First you kill the bacteria. And what EPA has done with the disinfection byproduct rules is begin to monkey with killing the bugs. And that's troubling. That has always been troubling to me. But having said that, these guys still have to meet those limits because they are a matter of state and federal law. So, and their disinfection byproducts, they say, have some carcinogenic qualities. How high those are, I don't know. But they did. It was on that the disinfection byproducts got its impetus. And so it's true. Or when that thing hit, all the surface systems went out of compliance, and we've been struggling with that thing ever since. And progress is being made, but progress is slow. So I just wanted to throw that comment in.
Thank you. If you have any questions, those people that filled out a card, if you haven't turned those in already, I'd like to have those up here. And I have some questions that a lawyer friend of mine wanted me to ask you. But you've answered a bunch of them already, so I think that's cool. That's great. Does the blue-green algae or its toxins come through to my tap? And if so, is it dangerous to my baby's health?
Not yet, and yes. We have not so far seen blue-green algae cells show up in finished water. We've had a time or two when it has shown up in the source water as it enters the plant. When we get, and our role at the DEQ is to protect is protection of public water supplies. A couple of years ago, the responsibility for notifications on body contact recreation went to tourism. So our role is limited to protection of public water supply. But when we are notified, and it is a responsibility of lake managers, in the case of Lake Eufaula, the Corps Lake, which is the Corps of Engineers, they monitor the lake. If they see blue-green algae begin to show up in Lake Eufaula, we dispatch people to work with the systems that are in that lake to provide assistance on how they keep those blue-green algae cells out of the finished water. And to date, we've been successful.
Now, the taste and odor will show up.
Well, yeah. Well, if we want to get into, I suspect at some point, if somebody's got iron and manganese in their, or magnesium in their water, they will get to secondary standards. But yeah, it will. But the toxin, the blue-green algae toxin, so far hasn't shown up in finished water.
They smell bad, but it's safe.
But it's safe.
Good, thank you.
Let me also.
Dennis?
A couple of years ago, when this thing first started coming out, I will tell you, as an operator, we got a lot of communication from DEQ on what to look for, some of the things that they would like for us to do if we started seeing this. I mean, there was a whole range of information that was sent out to all the water plant operators. And again, we were lucky enough to where we haven't had to deal with it yet, but we were also told that, you know, if we spotted it, be sure to let them know, and they would respond accordingly. And I would assume this is what you're talking about. Like I say, they haven't come down to my plant, but I've been lucky enough to where I haven't had that issue. But they were very good about sending out a lot of information about this and what to look for.
Okay, good. Something to follow up with that. How often does DEQ or any other agency check local water systems or companies?
Monthly.
Well, we are required by EPA to check public water supply systems once every 3 years. Doesn't seem like enough to me. But there is sort of the official inspection that we do, and then there's sort of the drop-by. And our local guys are out and about. They're coming by. They're taking a look around. They're working with you. So it's sort of officially once every 3 years. But we're out. Our job is to make sure that when where the real heavy lifting. I mean, I probably didn't say this. To make sure that happens is with the local folks, with the rural water districts in the city. That's where the heavy lifting is. But we have a responsibility to do supervision of those plants to make sure that those things are being operated correctly, and so we're out and about. But we'll hear what people have to say. I think most of the time it's in an assistance mode rather than an enforcement mode. But we're looking.
Well, this kind of comes down from an operational standpoint, and again, it depends on how you define how often do they check. Because I am required to turn in paperwork, as you guys are, that you monitor this plant every single day. So you could say that DEQ is monitoring the plant every day. Now, we have a local ES, it's environmental specialist. Mine is Emily Hoskin. I'm not sure, you guys probably have somebody different, but she comes by at least about once a month. Now, aren't they required to fill out an inspection every 3 months on the local ES?
Well, what they're not necessarily by law, but by policy.
But by policy, okay. Yeah, so, and the other thing, and again, this kind of touches base, is that when I first started up here, I started with the sewer plant in Canadian. DEQ started a program, it was called My Facility. And basically what this did is it put a little bit more emphasis on the local people to come out, and not just to come out and see what was going on, but actually try to help facilitate problems. At Canadian, that helped me tremendously. Now, lately, it hasn't worked quite as well as it used to. We're hoping to get it better, but for the most part, I've always found DEQ to be there in advisory position, and yes, I do not always agree with the rules and regulations. Most of the time, I see a need for them, because if we didn't have rules, you'd have people dumping who knows what in this lake, and it'd be in this jar. So, yes, they do monitor very often, and could it be done better? Of course. Anything could be done better.
If I was interested, where would I go to find those results of those inspections?
There would be in our office. I think they do copy the plant too. They do.
Yes. Now, again, all this stuff is a matter of public record.
Yeah.
There are If you really want to seriously find out what's going on, start with the plant, because the plant has, I keep records, I know you guys have to keep records, so there are records of all the testing. There is also, you can also call the local DEQ representative. Like I say, you guys are in McIntosh County, so you have somebody different than I do.
Or we could call Emily.
Yes.
She would have that information.
For Crowder.
Get it.
Now, for Eufaula,
Yeah.
it'd be somebody, I'm not sure who it is for Eufaula, but
Can't remember his name.
I think I may have, didn't mean to necessarily gloss over this, but the drinking water program at its core is a federal program. It's a federal program under the Safe Drinking Water Act, the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. We operate that program in lieu of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And our focus is on fixing problems before they reach the federal level. You don't want to mess with those guys. EPA is just odd. So all of this, it is fair to say that our job is to protect that water when it leaves, but all of this attention is to try to catch problems before they occur and rise to that level. And if we have a violation, what we do is sign an order. We'll sign an order with the city of Eufaula, both on wastewater and drinking water, that says, you got a problem. We both acknowledge that there's a problem here with a violation of the law. And then it sets out a schedule that says, here's how we're going to solve this problem. Okay? And it may be that we have to fine a city for their violations. Generally, that is about, I don't know what the percentage is, but a much smaller percentage penalty than you would get from the federal government. Because our emphasis is on compliance, and EPA's emphasis is on enforcement. So you agree that the mayor and I agree that they got a problem, and they agree that they're going to fix it. They're going to get with their engineer, and they're going to fix it. And there's a schedule, and as long as we're on schedule, we're fine. Now, there are 1,000 things that can cause you to fall off that schedule. Weather, engineering, delays in engineering, funding. And so as those deviations occur from that schedule, we'll probably call the mayor or folks in and say, y'all schedule. What we're going to do to fix it. And they'll tell us, we usually get, most of the time we get, well, here's what happened.